Mopani residents have called for the proposed marriage bill to introduce tighter measures to regulate marriages between South African citizens and foreign nationals, citing concerns over the prevalence of fraudulent unions. The residents also argue that there are loopholes being exploited, undermining the integrity of the country's marital system. Home Affairs Portfolio Committee Chairperson Musa Chabani says socio-economic challenges lead to some of these marriages.
Some are raising the means of money that they don't have money. Others are raising the issue of unemployment. And also those that are from outside the country are utilizing the system in order to access our documents to affirm their status, citizenship in our country. Those are some of the issues that they were engaging with the Department of Home Affairs. We can say with confidence that the Department of Home Affairs Counter-Corruption Unit are hard at work to make sure that we kept this illegal means. You have seen in the previous years that people have been arrested, documents have been exposed, and this all is the work of the law enforcement agency in relation to the work that we have assigned them to do collectively.
Now, for more on the story, we are joined by Lucia Bugana, who's an Executive Director of NLB Attorneys. Lucia, very good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. Maybe from an attorney's point of view, do you think that this call by the Mopani residents to have stricter measures, especially when regulating marriages between South Africans and foreign nationals, is a plea that really should be looked into?
Definitely. I mean, obviously, you know that there's a lot of people who have complained and lodged disputes regarding fake marriages or illegal marriages where they have no idea that they're even married. Some do go into the marriages, obviously, for socio-economic reasons, but definitely it's something that really needs to be looked at by our government and by the Department of Home Affairs. There really needs to be stricter measures in place, especially with the interview process that's already in place. There really needs to be a verification of the letter of non-impediment, basically making sure that people that are really getting married are getting into the marriage for the proper reasons.
Yeah. So you speak about the interview process that is in place. Just walk us through the step-by-step legal process that then will be followed once this marriage bill is enacted, particularly regarding to the verification of these marriages.
Yes, so particularly with marriages with a foreign national, first thing is that obviously they will need to produce their identification in the form of a passport with a visa or a permit. But secondly, there is a requirement that they need to provide the apostilled letter of non-impediment. It's different from the current dispensation right now because currently they just need to provide the letter of non-impediment. But now with this marriage bill, the important part is that it needs to be an apostilled letter, which means that obviously it needs to be verified as an official document from the country of origin. So those are the two things that I feel like are already the bill will assist with. But also in terms of the interview process at Home Affairs, they do need to sit with the two spouses or the two potential partners, and they need to be interviewed so that Home Affairs can verify indeed that these two people are in a relationship.
And could there be unexpected house visits, perhaps, by officials from Home Affairs to ensure that this really does exist as a marriage?
Certainly, definitely. That's one of the requirements that I think in the legal field we feel like it's currently lacking because it's only one interview at the moment that takes place. But it's important, and I think that they need to implement some sort of a longer process, not just one interview, house visits, maybe also checking bank accounts to ensure that these people are indeed living together and support each other even financially.
I mean, these residents argue that there are loopholes that are being exploited. What do you think are the main loopholes that people simply are able to use in undermining the country's marital system?
Well, like I've just said, the fact that there's only one interview. I mean, you just need to go with your potential partner and just sit for one interview. In terms of loopholes, the fact that the letter of non-impediment is not currently, it's not a requirement for it to be apostilled. So, I mean, we know that anyone can just go and just draft a letter and put a stamp. And that obviously when they go to Home Affairs, the officials will look at the letter and be like, okay, this is an official letter. But there needs to be something more.
And would the processes also apply, especially the legal tools or the processes that would be used to ensure that traditional leaders and other designated marriage officers also need to adhere to in order to verify these procedures that are stipulated in the bill?
Yes, so in terms of the bill, there is now recognition to the traditional leaders in order for them to also be able to solemnize marriages, which is something that's new and actually welcome. But also traditional leaders need to work hand in hand with the Department of Home Affairs, because one person can get married with a traditional leader and get married somewhere else in a civil union with another person at Home Affairs. So there needs to be really a serious coordination between the traditional leaders that are going to solemnize the marriages as well as Home Affairs.
And how do you think this bill would be able to balance between the tighter regulation, and some will also ask about the protection of the individuals involved?
Well, yes, the bill on its own is just a legislation. So all it can do is just prescribe what needs to be done. I think where it lacks, it's at enforcement level. So there really needs to be stricter measures at Home Affairs. They need to be able to put measures in place that allow for them to verify documents, to verify identifications, and to have home visits, as some people have suggested.
How imperative, especially for processes such as this, is for the education as well as the introduction and the involvement of the public in order for them to be able to voice out what they think really is needed when it comes to putting together a bill of this nature?
Yeah, so it's already important. I mean, the Parliament is really doing a big step by holding these public hearings, and it's obviously something that we welcome. But there needs to be more in terms of advertising the fact that these public hearings are taking place. And I think they need to also make sure that, especially in the rural areas, they need to make sure that they're there. Maybe more than one sitting needs to take place, because a lot of the time you'll find that people are not even aware that the public hearings are there. But it's very important for them to be aware, because that is exactly the reason why these hearings are taking place, because Parliament needs to hear the voice of the people and need to understand exactly what the people on the ground are going through.
And what would most likely be the consequences when found that such a marriage is just transactional and really it's not as authentic as it's put out to be?
Well, currently, in terms of the bill, they do make there is provision for a criminal offense. So if a marriage officer, for example, is aware that this marriage is not real, or the parties really are not intending to get into a real marriage, they then are liable to face criminal offenses for up to 5 years. But it's only the marriage officer in terms of the bill that would be held accountable.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Lucia Bugana of NLB Attorneys, an executive director there, just taking through the processes of this bill with regards to marriages between South Africans and foreign nationals.